oversized load. No kidding. These guys hogged the highway for 900 miles, all the way from Arizona where they were constructed. The citizens, civic leaders, and local paparazzi of Ogden, Utah turned out to greet the city's newest and biggest residents, a Triceratops and a Ceratosaurus, on their way to the new George Eccles Dinosaur Park.
This is number 28 and 29 of our park and creatures, and we have 13 more ordered. We don't necessarily want to have more creatures than any park in the world, although I think we're approaching it.
The newcomers joined a Mesozoic menagerie of prehistoric creatures that roamed here millions of years ago.
We certainly want to have the biggest representation of the dinosaurs that were in this area.
Attractions like the George Eccles Dinosaur Park entertain as well as educate about how these creatures looked and behaved. Some parks have recreated elaborate themed environments to transport visitors to lost prehistoric worlds. Museums are being invaded by lively new inhabitants. Animatronic dinosaurs in touring exhibits perform next to the skeletons of their ancestors. An old department store has been recycled into a simulated environment for prehistoric interaction. Who knows? These days you might even encounter a prehistoric at your local shopping mall. The last one died out 60 million years ago, but they're undeniably the biggest celebrities around.
My favorite dinosaur is the Velociraptor, the Pterodactyl, the Apatosaurus, the Dilophosaurus, the Gallimimus.
Dinomaniacs can't get enough of their favorite celebs. If you want to get up close and personal with prehistoric notables from Rexes to Raptors, you don't need a Mesozoic time machine. You can meet the stars of the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous worlds appearing daily at dinosaur parks across the country. We'll show you where to look for them. How do they build a Brachiosaurus? Or program a Protoceratops? You'll discover how craftsmen and engineers recreate dinosaurs, from the claws up, so to speak, for new theme parks and exhibits. Dinosaur destinations are waiting to be explored. T-Rex and his pals left their dinosaur tracks, so let's follow them.
He left his dinosaur tracks in the ground, dinosaur tracks in the ground to be found by you and me. He left his dinosaur tracks in the ground, dinosaur tracks in the ground to be found by you and me.
Dinosaurs have always been popular with people ever since they've known about dinosaurs back in the 19th century. In fact, we've had actually dinosaur crazes, the biggest of which we're going through right now.
First stop, the museum home of collector, author, and expert Dinosaur Don Glut. If you want to talk dinosaurs, hey, this is your guy.
The public was really first introduced to dinosaurs back in the 1850s. At that time, there were only 3 dinosaurs named, and the scientist who coined the word dinosaur, Sir Richard Owen, commissioned a sculptor named Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins to make a set of life-size dinosaurs, the way they thought they looked back then, for the Crystal Palace Dinosaur Exhibition. These would have been the first dinosaur figures ever made. They consisted of an iguanodon, a megalosaurus, which was the first dinosaur ever named, and Hylaeosaurus, among some other prehistoric creatures.
On New Year's Eve of 1853, a dinner was held inside the unfinished body of the iguanodon. It's rumored that the term party animal was first heard at this event.
In 1854, the first park of life-size dinosaur figures opened to the public. Those figures are still there, still standing to this day, and they're maintained. So if you're in England, you can see these figures. They're not paleontologically accurate, but they were the first attempt to recreate life-size dinosaur figures.
Not paleontologically accurate? Don is a master of the understatement. That horn the iguanodon proudly wears on his nose actually belonged on his hand. Scientists later realized it was the thumb.
Well, maybe now I can hitch a ride out of this stinking swamp.
With more bones to work with, they began to get it right. Fossil hunters out west shipped tons of skeletons to museums where remains of fantastic creatures were put on display. Crowds gazed up in amazement. The movies brought those old bones to life.
I took my lady to a picture show. The place was shaking right to the back row. 'Cause on the screen they were showing dinosaur movies. These scaly monsters were engaging a fight and smashing cities just to show off their might. They made it big, superstarring in dinosaur movies. Dinosaur movies. Dinosaur movies. Dinosaur movies.
Taking to the open road led to new experiences like backseat arguments, gas station pit stops, and those famous words, "Are we there yet?" People were surprised to find dinosaurs waiting to meet them.
The origin of the dino fever of the early 1930s was a Sinclair refining company which used dinosaurs in their advertising. They used to say that they had the oldest crudes, and they would show a picture of a dinosaur. Shortly after that, King Kong was released. And shortly after King Kong was released, which had its own menagerie of dinosaurs, there was the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. Now, at the World's Fair, Sinclair had its own dinosaur exhibit, which had a set of life-size dinosaur figures.
But prehistoric cravings could only be satisfied by a new type of attraction, the permanent dinosaur park.
The dinosaur park, essentially a park populated by life-size figures of prehistoric creatures, as a nationwide phenomenon is relatively new. But there were early examples, the first being Dinosaur Park on a hilltop in Rapid City, South Dakota.
Atop what was once called Hangman's Hill, these figures were built during the Depression years of the 1930s by a government-funded agency called the Works Progress Administration, or WPA. The construction of these New Deal dinosaurs provided much-needed jobs during hard times. Some 60 years later, they're still attracting as many visitors. Some from nearby Mount Rushmore.
Bully, George. There's something around here older than we are.
Many dinosaur parks started with one or two creatures out front, attracting curious customers off the road. If you owned a drugstore at the edge of the Dakota Badlands, how would you attract customers? With an 80-foot aspirin bottle or a brontosaurus? The dinosaurs seem to make good business sense. In Wall, South Dakota, east of Rapid City, where this handsome specimen continues to bring them in to the famous Wall drugstore. Meet Dinah, the official greeter of visitors to Vernal, Utah, gateway to America's dinosaur country. Early fossil finds in the area uncovered Diplodocus, Stegosaurus, Allosaurus, and others. At the Natural History State Park on Main Street, you'll see some of those bones on display in the Utah Fieldhouse Museum. Next door, you'll find yourself among recreations of those prehistoric superstars in dinosaur gardens. The gardens are home to 14 dinosaurs and prehistoric residents. As visitors move from the back to the front of the garden, they also move forward in time. Dragonflies with wingspans over 2 feet wide, and moskops, kinda cute really, are examples of creatures that lived before the big guys showed up. The inhabitants are placed in the garden along with the kind of vegetation that lived when they did. So Triceratops stands among the beans, cabbage, and flowering plants that made up his favorite salad. Pass the ranch dressing, please. When you come forward in the garden to the meat eaters like T-Rex, you'll find that he's also placed close to his favorite foods. Tourist family visiting from Ohio, for example. The flying reptiles like Pteranodon and Rhamphorhynchus can also be seen hanging around here. And then you come much further forward in time to the woolly mammoth, an Ice Age creature that lived 60 million years after the dinosaurs made their exit. Nice haircut. At Christmas time, the dinosaurs are decked out with lights. Kind of makes you feel sorry for those once proud, noble creatures, doesn't it? Most people who visit dinosaur gardens want to know how these models came about. Well, since a couple of people have asked, we'll fill you in. When sculptor Elbert Porter completed this 18-foot Indian across the street, he decided he could take on a subject as big as dinosaurs. Scaled up from small models, the wooden framework was finished with a tough fiberglass covering. It took more than 15 years to complete the entire creature collection.
Believe me, I love dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I'll do anything to get here. I'm gonna live here.
They're all 3 dinosaur fanatics.
The kids bring their parents, their grandparents, aunts, uncles, etc.
We're from Alaska.
But we have a lot of kids from all over the world.
They enjoy it a lot. I think it's really good for them, you know, because they have all these questions about them. They keep asking us how big they are, so now they can see.
Instead of just seeing little toys about this big. Believe me, it's a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
You can bet those little dino maniacs will be dragging their parents to the Quarry Visitors Center at Dinosaur National Monument, 20 miles east of Vernal. If you had to pick one showplace of dinosaur country, this would be it. It's a Jurassic burial ground where 2,000 bones are locked in a stone time capsule, 150 million years old. Geologic uplifting exposed this dinosaur death scene. The 200-foot wall displays the bones of hundreds of animals trapped in the flood of a long-ago river. The bones are left in place, just as deposited. From the observation deck, diagrams help visitors locate the bones of different species. Below are displays featuring the animals captured within the wall. While most were plant eaters, this meat-eating Allosaurus also met the same fate. Park ranger programs bring to life the story of what happened here for audiences of young and old. There's much more to see in Dinosaur National Monument than bones. Visitors can explore 325 square miles of spectacular canyon country sprawling across the border of Utah and Colorado, with scenic drives, wild rivers, camping, hiking, and fishing. This is a largely undiscovered gem of the national park system. Near the monument headquarters on the Colorado side, you'll pass through a little town that's so dino crazy, they changed the name of the place to Dinosaur, Colorado. Even the street names are prehistoric. It seems the folks of Dinosaur, Colorado and their neighbors in Vernal, Utah display the symptoms of a type of Mesozoic madness called prehysteria.
Everywhere you go, there's this dinosaur fascination. I ask myself, why are all these prehistorics sweeping the nation? They maybe look like dragons, but hey, these things were